but I'm a person, and I feel like, people will like you for who you are if you are true to yourself. And
We are accustomed to 5-hour marathons, 150 miles per hour serves, broken records, and prize checks that like lottery prizes in professional tennis. However, the sport was unprepared for what transpired under the desert sun. Alexandra Eala approached the net, ready to celebrate after playing the match of her life, her muscles burning and her excitement waning. Before the stadium abruptly went silent, the crowd was roaring. One of the richest people in the area, neither an official or a fan, entered the court. Shaking Khaled al-Rashid, an oil millionaire, took the microphone, looked her in the eye, and made an incredible proposition. $10 million for the sweat-soaked racket in her hand, not for sponsorship or a business agreement. It wasn't a scene from a movie. The tennis world was taken aback by this actual occasion. A straightforward birthday greeting evolved into one of the most poignant moments in sports history. The alleged $10 million racket incident became more than just a headline on Champions Tennis, where we feel the match's pulse in addition to watching it. It was about the startling offer, confused security, and a young champion's 5-second response that demonstrated that some things in life are just not purchasable. And in order to fully appreciate how remarkable that was, you must first comprehend the context of Eala's quick ascent to fame as a young Filipina tennis player. Alexandra Eala, a proud Rafa Nadal Academy alumnus, has been sweeping the rankings, stifling skeptics, and bearing the hopes of a whole country. She is more than simply a budding artist anymore. She is a sensation. Eala was locked in when she arrived at the tournament. She just finished a demanding season in which she fought for every point and struggled through qualification. The match had already garnered media attention before the millionaire took the court. Her forehand exploded like a cannon as she played with a passion seldom witnessed. She moved almost supernaturally across the court. In addition to winning, she was motivating everyone in attendance, particularly those in the VIP box. People kept a careful eye on Sheikh Khaled al-Rashid, who is said to be worth over $50 billion and has private islands, supercar fleets, and a skyline sculpted by his investments. He wasn't paying attention to the scoreboard, though. Aisha al-Rashid, his daughter, was the target. She is seen by the world as an aide to an oil empire. She was just a little girl with stars in her eyes that day. Aisha had been dealing with personal health issues, according to family sources. She also found solace in watching Eala compete as she healed. She bonded with Eala's spirit in addition to admiring her game. Aisha had secretly found strength in Eala's unwavering never-give-up mentality. To end the match, Alexandra Eala crushed a last-second winner. There was loud applause across the arena. Aisha al-Rashid, however, turned to her father inside the VIP box and muttered that she only wanted to hold a piece of that enchantment for her birthday. The majority of fathers may have purchased a replica jersey or made arrangements for a signature. Sheikh Khaled al-Rashid, however, was unlike other fathers. Weariness set in as she probably fantasized of an ice bath and recovery shake. Eala shook hands with her opponent and waved to the audience as the match came to a conclusion. Suddenly, security around the players' bench parted like the Red Sea. As the billionaire himself entered the court, surrounded by shocked tournament officials who were unsure of how to respond, the arena became silent. The billionaire was wearing immaculate traditional robes. The stadium was still as the sound system crackled. Calm but determined, he motioned for the umpire's microphone. He said, "I am a father," in a powerful voice that was shaking with emotion. Eala halted, clutching her racket, uncertain if this was an unannounced ceremony or a security breach. "And I will do anything to make my daughter happy." The stylish went back to the young champion after taking a quick look at the VIP box where Aisha was standing with her palms pushed against the glass. "My daughter, Aisha, looks up to you, Alexandra Eala. To buy the racket you used to win today's match, I'd like to make a $10 million offer." The crowd let out a collective gasp. $10 million for a few $100s worth of graphite and thread from a sporting goods store. But it was more than simply gear to him. It represented resiliency and optimism. Ella's face was captured by cameras as she gazed at the billionaire and then at the racket she was holding, which had scratches from a hard court and a grip stained with blood and perspiration. No one breathed for 5 painful seconds. $10 million could secure generations, establish hospitals, fund careers, and alter lives. Most would have turned over the whole bag, not just the racket. Eala, however, ignored the cash. She glanced at the time. "Sir, your daughter's love for the game is worth more than any amount of money in the world," she remarked, stepping toward the microphone without consulting her coach or agent. She smiled at Aisha in the VIP box. "Since inspiration shouldn't be purchased, I am unable to sell you this racket for $10 million. Alexandra Eala went on in a composed yet strong voice. "It ought to be distributed." She then gestured for Aisha to descend to the edge of the court beneath the VIP box rather than leaving. After a brief moment of hesitation, security gingerly lifted the young child over the railing. Eala lowered herself to eye level with her. She gently placed the racket in Aisha al-Rashid's shaking hands and whispered, "This is for you, offering it for free on one condition. Like me, you swear to never give up." Sheikh Khaled al-Rashid's daughter Aisha, who could have anything money could buy, broke down in tears. Sobbing into the champion's shoulder, she flung her arms around Eala. A titan of industry, the mighty sheikh stood behind them, clearly humbled as he wiped his own eyes. The audience did more than just cheer. They shed tears. For almost 10 minutes, a standing ovation reverberated throughout the arena, reverberating well beyond the court. Since then, the event has gone viral on social media because it touched a chord in a world full of cynicism. Athletes are viewed as assets in modern sports, which can feel like pure business where devotion has a cost. He was following the reasoning he knew when the chick made the $10 million offer. There is a cost to everything. You have to pay for uncommon items. However, Ella's denial wasn't just about turning down money. Value was to be redefined. She turned down the offer, making that racket invaluable. It would have been a pricey memento and a sign of a deal if she had sold it. She turned it into something much more by giving it away, a representation of inspiration, resiliency, and hope. Suddenly, the racket was more than just a piece of equipment. Became a tangible representation of the relationship between a fan and an athlete, a sign of unadulterated sportsmanship. The lesson was profound for Aisha. She might have discovered that money can buy anything if her father had just bought the racket. Rather, she discovered that her hero recognizes, appreciates, and believes in her because of her passion and heart, not because of money. The moment of the billion-dollar rejection was widely reported on social media. Hashtags like #priceless and #LaImpact started to spread globally. Commentators remarked that Alexandra Eala had just made the best brand choice possible, but the worst business choice of her life. Was it truly a bad business decision? Eala might have actually done something considerably more significant than simply cashing a check. She positioned herself as an international symbol of kindness and integrity, which is impossible to create with an endorsement arrangement. Brands look for icons, not just victors. And she became one in that instant that will never be forgotten. But that heartfelt hug wasn't the end of the tale. The repercussions are still being felt both inside and outside of the tennis community. You must examine her journey in order to completely see why her gesture struck such a deep chord. Eala, a graduate of the Rafa Nadal Academy, has risen to prominence thanks to traits like discipline, perseverance, and faith that were instilled in her early on. Her journey has never been simple. She was born in the Philippines, carrying the aspirations of a country eager for a world-class tennis player. That's why it mattered so much to give the racket away. She knew what it was to pursue a desire that occasionally seemed greater than oneself, to struggle for opportunity, and to find strength in inspiration. Alexandra Eala, who was born in the Philippines, has had to struggle for every chance. At an early age, she left home to practice at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain, forgoing time with friends and family in order to follow her goal. She had to contend with injuries, financial difficulties, and the tremendous strain of representing a country's aspirations in a sport that is predominantly played by more developed nations. Tennis legends have taken notice of her rapid ascent up the WTA rankings in recent months. She has been compared to seasoned stars due to her blazing baseline game and tactical acumen above her years. She shocked a top 20 opponent just weeks before the now-famous incident, demonstrating that she was more than simply a potential future. She posed a real danger. The Filipino tennis community back home has come together in a remarkable way to support her. Every time she competes, Manila venues are packed with spectators, and kids are picking up rackets as a result of her impact. She's not only trying to get more ranking points. A generation is being inspired by her. Her choice to donate the racket seemed so strong because of this. Refusing $10 million wasn't just kind. It was life-changing for someone who knows the importance of sacrifice and the worth of every dollar, having witnessed firsthand how hard her family fought to fund her path. It served as a reminder that some athletes still value their platform more than their own financial gain. The tale didn't stop there, either. According to reports, Sheikh Khaled Al Rashid was so touched by her act that he promised to use the same $10 million to fund the growth of child sports in the Philippines in Eala's honor rather than purchasing souvenirs. Although it hasn't been formally announced, people close to the family say he plans to finance tennis facilities in underprivileged areas, giving kids who might not otherwise touch a racket lessons and equipment. Eala's 5-second choice has the potential to create a legacy far bigger than any individual wealth. Rather of benefiting just one person, it might provide opportunities for thousands of young athletes, transforming a single act of generosity into a national movement. In the Philippines, complete tennis courts may be built instead of a single racket collecting dust in a private collection. That's the kind of math that transforms nations, the multiplication of giving. Sheikh Khaled Al Rashid representatives have apparently been contacted by the Philippine Tennis Association to discuss possible collaborations, and instructors nationwide are ecstatic. In the event that the proposed foundation is realized, former Filipino athletes have even volunteered their time and experience. Aisha, on the other hand, was spotted exiting the stadium while holding onto the racket as if it were her most valuable possession. Witnesses said that she refused to allow security to carry it, clutching it close to her chest and looking down at it in shock as they drove home. The fact that it couldn't be purchased, rather than its material worth, makes that scuffed frame and worn grip possibly one of the most significant pieces of tennis memorabilia in the Middle East. It stands for something that even billions of dollars cannot buy. Real personal interaction. A hero recognizing that she is important for her own soul, not for her last name. Although the stylish person has been remarkably silent on social media, people close to him claim that the incident had a profound impact. This man is used to negotiating for billions of dollars, to boardrooms where a signature can change fortunes, and to getting nearly everything he wants. Perhaps for the first time in decades, he had to deal with something that was out of his price range. And his response was one of humility rather than annoyance. He was reminded that beyond any commerce, there is love, inspiration, hope, and dignity. What about Ella Alexandra? She left the court in the same modest, calm manner that she had arrived, concentrating on the next task. She merely smiled and remarked, "Some things are just for the heart." She refused to make it into a spectacle, letting the gesture speak for itself when reporters gathered around her in a mixed zone and asked her to explain the viral moment. She did not post a sneak peek of the gesture on Instagram. She didn't want a statement from her management team. Using principles that had been established long before she ever took the stage professionally, Alexandra Eala just followed her instincts. The moment struck such a deep chord because of that authenticity. Additionally, her social media following has grown by over 2 million on various platforms in the days following the incident. Her influence extended beyond the realm of tennis, as seen by the flood of messages of appreciation she received from nations without even a professional tour. According to reports, major international brands are rushing up to collaborate with her because she displayed something more uncommon than a championship title character, not because she won a trophy. The most valuable asset in contemporary sports marketing is authenticity. Ella just demonstrated how much of it she possesses. The response from the tennis community has been overwhelmingly positive. Other athletes, ranging from up-and-coming talents to Grand Slam winners, have openly applauded her choice. Legends who usually stay off social media have expressed their appreciation for her, and former world number ones have referred to her as an inspiration. In a statement, the Women's Tennis Association, WTA, praised Eala for exemplifying the compassion and sportsmanship that the tour aims to promote. Alexandra Eala may be given a special humanitarian award at the conclusion of the season, according to mounting rumors. In a sport where titles and ranking points are usually used to gauge achievement, this is a unique honor. Even while the rallies were excellent, the tournament where it all took place has become one of the year's most talked about events because of what happened after match point. According to reports, organizers are thinking about putting a plaque on the exact location where Ella gave Aisha the racket as a way to remember the incident. To honor the act, some have even suggested renaming a portion of the stadium. Local artists have suggested a statue that would depict Ella and Aisha's embrace frozen in time, with the racket between them serving as a metaphor of the connection between an athlete and their fan. The response from other competitors has been mainly positive. Her compassion has been publicly complimented by a number of athletes. However, some have acknowledged in private that they are unsure if they would have chosen the same course of action. The story is only made more complex by such candor. Her decision is noteworthy since not everyone is wired in the same way. It acts as a reminder that there is always an option, especially in high-stakes situations involving potentially life-altering financial amounts. Unexpectedly, the maker of the Racket model Eala used has also come under scrutiny. While purposefully avoiding any overt commercial exploitation, the corporation issued a well-crafted statement expressing pride that its technology was a part of such a significant event. They announced a modest donation of rackets to kids' tennis programs in the Philippines rather than starting a gaudy campaign. An action that was more in line with the spirit of charity than with financial gain. Experts in behavior have even expressed interest in the story's psychological undertone. What influenced Eala's choice during those 5 silent seconds? Was it instinct alone, molded by years of sacrifice and morals? Or was it a quick calculation based on something more profound than wealth, identity, legacy, or purpose? The result is a case study of character under strain, regardless of what was going through her mind during that little gap. When faced with potentially life-altering quantities of money, the majority of people experience what psychologists refer to as cognitive override, a struggle between emotional urge and logical calculation. Alexandra Eala, however, went above both. She didn't feel pain. She didn't think about it. She behaved with a moral clarity that results from deeply ingrained ideals at that brief pause. An intuitive clarity that eliminates the need for argumentation. She simply knew what was correct. The complicated connection between riches and happiness is also highlighted by this occasion. Sheikh Khaled al-Rashid owns nearly all that money can purchase. However, his daughter was unable to get the one item she most wanted. To offer her what she really needed, a rather poor person had to do a small deed. The lesson is universal, and the irony is deep. Our most treasured possessions, love, acceptance, connection, and belonging, exist outside of economic structures. They cannot be traded, bought, or sold. They are priceless because they can only be freely offered. There are encouraging signals for Eala's future. As a player whose honesty now speaks louder than any trophy, her ranking will keep rising, victories will mount, and sponsorships will pour in. Beyond honors and recommendations, however, she has established a legacy that is considerably more enduring. This story will live on long after her matches are gone and the victories and defeats have faded. It will be recited at tennis clubs, documented in sports chronicles, and utilized to encourage future generations of sportsmen to understand that their impact goes well beyond the tennis court. Additionally, the encounter can light a spark that lasts a lifetime for Aisha al-Rashid. Maybe she'll pick up a tennis racket and discover her own love, or she might follow other goals. She brought with her the lesson that genuine worth is determined by the strength of our relationships with others rather than by material belongings. When she encounters her own difficulties years from now, she might think back on this occasion and realize that some of life's most priceless presents come from the heart rather than from money. In years to come, Aisha al-Rashid will remember the day Alexandra Eala knelt in front of her and decided to be nice instead of greed. We watch sports for this reason. Yes, for the athletic prowess and forehands and backhands, but we stay for the humanity. We stick around for the times when the distinction between fan and superstar blurs. When athletes remind us that they are first and foremost people and not just performers. Occasionally, something goes beyond the game. Something that renews our trust in kindness and awakens our better angels. Eala handed Sheikh Khaled al-Rashid a memory and taught us all a lesson that will last for years, despite his attempts to buy a moment. She demonstrated that inspiration is meant to be shared rather than sold, and that some things cannot and should not be commercialized. She taught that being affluent is not the same as being truly wealthy, and that the heart understands things the wallet will never. If a billionaire offered $10 million for something significant but ultimately interchangeable, how would you respond? Would you follow Eala's lead or accept the money? Tell the truth. There is no incorrect response. The majority of us would most likely accept the money. Human nature is that way. Bills, family responsibilities, and financially driven goals. However, observing Aisha's unadulterated happiness and a genuine human connection, Eala might have grasped something that many of us are still discovering. The most fulfilling life isn't determined by financial records, but rather by meaningful experiences, meaningful relationships, and the knowledge that you've improved someone's life. Tell me how you would have answered in the comments section. In order to ensure that you never miss the drama, passion, and glory on Cortiva Tennis, please hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell if this tale of love over money touched you. Tell this tale to a person who needs a reminder that there is still good in the world. Keep your heart on your sleeve and your brain in the game till the next time.